I'm going to spill the beans, my $1,000,000 secret, how I added $1,000,000 to my restaurant and catering business virtually overnight. Hey, my name is Michael Tebow, recovering restaurant owner and caterer, owner of Done For You Marketing Systems, author, coach. Thank you so much for stopping by for this week's edition of Mike's Money Making Minutes. And I'm going to give you my $1,000,000 secret, how I virtually added $1,000,000 in sales onto my restaurant and catering business way back in the day. So just to give you a little background, I started out as a caterer and transitioned into a restaurant owner / caterer, banquet hall owner, owner of several catering wholesale contracts, which that's a whole other topic that I'm going to get into here. But my formula was kind of backwards. I started out as a caterer and I'd open restaurants to promote my catering business. I don't highly recommend that because the restaurant business is much harder and takes a lot more time commitment and employees to run than a catering business. But I was able to do it efficiently and profitably, so I was able to manage both at the same time. But I started out after I sold all my restaurants and my catering business in 2008 and opened up Done For You Marketing Systems to help restaurants and caterers get more new clients with little to no work on their part. And the reason I sold it is because I had this $1,000,000 contract, right? And I had it for many years. And it was with Chrysler. It was a catering contract. And a little background on it. So I'm in Detroit, right, which is the epicenter of the automotive industry in the entire world. The big three, we call them, Ford, General Motors, and Chrysler. And I nailed a contract for Chrysler for the Detroit Auto Show, which is the premier auto show for, the entire world, right? Because we're in Detroit. We're the car capital of the entire world. This is where, the big three were born and their headquarters are, back in the day. So before the auto show, Chrysler wanted to throw a week-long party for the press, so they'd get a lot of good press, for their cars, for their company. They brought in all these celebrities, which was awesome because they all came into our party, and it was right across. The auto show used to be held at Cobo Hall, and we would create like an upscale Irish pub. We did different themes, throughout the years that I had the contract, so the press could come over. Proximity was really close. It was in Firehouse 1. It was actually the lower level of the first firehouse in Detroit. We built this entire, upscale Irish pub. We did a martini and scotch and bourbon bar, and food and everything was a la carte. It was just like running a restaurant, but it was free for all the guests. And we'd feed between 1,000 and 2,000 people a day for 7 days. Hence the reason why it was a $1,000,000 party. And then the culmination of the whole thing was the black tie, event the day before. And we had all types of celebrities. We had Jay Leno, we had Bobby Flay, celebrity chefs, local dignitaries, the big wigs from Chrysler. I mean, it was an awesome party to do, right? So the question I always get is, how did you get that party? Well, it was guerrilla style marketing. I got it from one of my restaurants. So one of the first restaurants I opened after my pizzeria was called Cook's Garden Cafe, and I opened it specifically to build my corporate catering business. We were doing really well with in-home, and social catering, but I wanted to get more corporate catering because that's where the bigger budgets and the bigger numbers were. So I opened this restaurant in a very heavily designated area for businesses. There was a lot of corporate offices there. It was in Birmingham, Michigan, very affluent part of town. So what I did was, now this is a secret, I had one of my nighttime chefs who was also going to college, very well spoken, very professional looking, knew how to carry himself. He would go around each and every day and qualify different businesses around my restaurant if they did catering. Basically, he'd go in, He had a list, right? He'd check it off. He'd get the contact information of the person that handled their catering and find out what type of catering they would do. And then every Friday, we drop off like 3 or 4 free lunches for 10 people. Basically, we did these awesome sandwiches, right? So our sandwich trays were phenomenal. And then if it was a good, possible client, we'd also do like a little dessert tray. So I knew my product was really, really good. And he went in with all type of bounce back, which is trying to get the business after we did this, contact information, from these different companies. And I call that guerrilla style marketing, right? You're hitting the streets, you're getting down and, just doing the marketing, getting your name out there, not in mass appeal, but very, very highly targeted. And they were a block. So he ran across this one party planner of 3 Chrysler executives that used to work for Chrysler, and then they transitioned to 3 friends, and they would plan parties. And Chrysler was one of their, contracts that they had because they were ex-Chrysler workers. So we were able to go in, drop off a lunch, introduce ourselves, make that contact, because catering is all about relationships, right? And that's how we built that relationship, started the conversation going, and then, things blossomed from there into $1 million party. So remember that. Relationships are key with catering, and it's always good to do guerrilla style marketing. And catering's all about imagery, right? With photos and pics of your catering that you do and taste. So consider doing, for people that qualify, free taste tests, along with, presenting some beautiful, gorgeous images and pictures. And that's how I nailed the $1 million party, basically overnight, from a contact that I called my outside sales rep made. We dropped off a free party tray. So it was an investment of about $20 and yield me $1 million a year. So if you want to talk about catering and how to develop more leads on a mass appeal, simply click the button below and you can sign up for a free strategy session with one of my catering DFY marketing specialists. Thanks so much. Appreciate it. And I will see you next week.